Thank you so much for joining us for this press conference to launch the Stop For Me public service announcement. My name is Alyssa Wetzel-Moore. I'm with the City of St. Paul Department of Human Rights and Equal Economic Opportunity. And to give you a little background about this project, the Mayor's Advisory Committee for People with Disabilities, which advises the mayor and the city departments on accessibility, in particular our co-chair Mark Hughes wanted to support the efforts of the St. Paul Police Department in their Stop For Me campaign to raise awareness about pedestrian safety. People with disabilities in particular are impacted by distracted driving and by visibility issues, and some of our members in fact have been hit by cars. And so we thought in particular the Mayor's Advisory Committee wanted to bring attention that people look for people with disabilities. We all matter here in St. Paul. This was a really nice collaboration with the St. Paul Neighborhood Network, who is the lead on this. Also wanted to thank our St. Paul Cable, again, the Mayor's Advisory Committee for People with Disabilities and their leadership, the St. Paul Police Department, Mayor Coleman, and Ramsey County Sheriff Serrier. So now we'll have some comments by Mayor Coleman, Police Chief Todd Axtell, and Ramsey County Sheriff Jack Serrier.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. And I do want to thank the Advisory Committee for their work and helping us really elevate this issue and get it into the public consciousness. We've had, in last year, we had 188 pedestrians that were struck walking along the streets of the city of St. Paul. We've already had a fatality this year. Just over the weekend, I saw that there was a fatality in downtown Minneapolis on Hennepin and 8th. And so we continue to see these unattentive drivers, folks that aren't paying attention to the laws, are distracted by 1,000 different things, whether it's their cell phone or even playing with the radio, whatever it might be. It is really, really a significant and serious situation. There isn't a day that I don't drive along the streets of the city of St. Paul where I don't see someone that isn't stopping for a pedestrian in a crosswalk, isn't yielding when they're supposed to yield, or on their cell phone. Honest to God, this is a true story. I was driving down the freeway the other day, and I looked over because this woman had hanging from her front window her cell phone. She was playing poker as she was driving 60 miles an hour down the freeway. It doesn't take too much imagination to think about how that situation could end. And we owe it to our residents, we owe it to our pedestrians, we particularly owe it to people with disabilities to pay more attention on the roads as we're driving along. We've worked very hard in the city of St. Paul over the last many years to make our streets safe for 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds and for the able and disabled, to make sure that everyone has access to the streets. It should be safe for drivers, it should be safe for bikers, it should be safe for walkers, it should be safe for people in chairs. Whatever the situation is, we need to make sure that our streets are safe. But it begins with driver awareness, it begins with paying attention, it begins with obeying the law, stopping for pedestrians in crosswalks. This is a partnership. This is an incredible work between our police department, the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, our advisory committee for people with disabilities. I want to thank all of you that have participated in that. But at the end of the day, this isn't going to change unless our drivers start paying attention. We can have all the public safety campaigns in the world. We can put bumper stickers on our cars, but it begins with paying attention to folks and having respect for people as you drive along. Take an extra second to let a pedestrian cross the sidewalk or the crosswalk before you move on. It isn't worth it. I will just tell you that while it impacts the life of someone that is struck and killed, and it impacts the lives of their families, it will also impact the life of that driver for the rest of their life. It doesn't make sense, folks. Slow down, pay attention to the rules, yield to pedestrians, yield to people with disabilities, and let's make sure that we make our streets safe for everyone. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, thank you very much, Mayor Coleman. Thank you for the leadership in the city to allow us to do this great work. Commander Jeremy Ellison, for the great work you've done, and our partners with the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department, the State Patrol, and many other partners out there that allow us to do this great work to keep our city safe. You know, as a person that lives and walks in this city every day, as the mayor mentioned, I see too many times when people are just disregarding what's going on around them on their phones, talking to people, not stopping for bikes and pedestrians. And it's an incredibly dangerous situation that we can all be part of stopping. This is absolutely preventable. Crashes are preventable. So the Stop For Me campaign is a community-led initiative in collaboration with community partners, the 17 district councils, and the Transit for Livable Communities. It's several St. Paul departments, Public Works, Hero, and others that are really helping us do this great work. And the goal of the campaign is to increase safety for most vulnerable road users, those on pedestrians, wheelchairs, and people biking around the city. As we all know, spring is here. It's a very busy time in the city of St. Paul. Many bikers, many pedestrians, a lot more people out enjoying the great parks and facilities throughout the city. And we have to all do our part. Drivers need to absolutely slow down, pay attention, and actively look for pedestrians, actively looking, not just driving around and trying to get from point A to point B. In St. Paul, over 80% of the drivers who were cited for failing to stop simply stated that they didn't see the people that they were supposed to stop for, and this is unacceptable, and this is not paying attention. So not seeing a person simply won't get you out of a ticket. It's not an excuse, so we can all do better for sure. As the mayor mentioned, last year in St. Paul, we had way too many struck by vehicles. This year, so far, 54 people have been struck in the city of St. Paul. We're on the pace of one every other day being struck, and that's way too many. These are our neighbors, our friends, our family members, our loved ones, the visitors of this great city, and we can all join together in doing our part to stop it. This is absolutely preventable. Thank you very much. Sheriff?
Thank you, Chief Axtell. Thank you, Mayor, for inviting me today. As a resident of the East Side, I see every day people using all modes of transportation. This is a very walkable city. In its nexus with regional parks, its nexus with mass transit, makes it a great place for people who want to use some other modality aside from a passenger car to move about the city. The unfortunate part is when we have people who are driving in a distracted fashion that are putting those folks, whether they are walking, using a motor scooter, a wheelchair, a bicycle, whatever it happens to be, we're putting them in danger by their distracted driving each and every day. So in Ramsey County, all the law enforcement agencies, including the City of St. Paul Police Department, are launching a distracted driving and pedestrian safety enforcement wave. That starts today, April 10th, and goes through April 23rd. Deputies and officers will be paid overtime to work extra shifts, focusing on distracted driving and pedestrian safety. The overtime money comes from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and is awarded to partners by the Minnesota Office for Traffic Safety. Distracted driving is a leading factor in crashes throughout Minnesota. In 2015, distracted driving contributed to 7,666 injuries and 74 deaths. In Minnesota, it is illegal for drivers to read, compose, or send text messages, emails, or any other electronic message, including accessing the web or taking a photograph while the vehicle is part of traffic. That includes being stopped at a stoplight or stuck in traffic. In any event, you're not allowed to use any of those devices to distract you from your primary task, which is operating a safe motor vehicle on a roadway. So at this point, I'd just like to wrap up by saying thank you to the Mayor's Advisory Committee for People with Disabilities, the St. Paul Neighborhood Network, and the St. Paul and St. Paul Communications for their work in producing the Stop For Me PSA. And that PSA will be playing just here shortly by our staff here in the back of the room. Thank you.
Minnesota law requires drivers to stop for pedestrians in both marked and unmarked crosswalks at every intersection.
So if you see anyone in a wheelchair, please stop for us.
This video that you just saw was our effort to bring to the attention of all drivers, people with disabilities. A person with a disability can be a little bit slower getting into the crosswalk and maybe even slower getting across the street. So we want to make sure people have patience with that issue. Also, people with disabilities, the ones that are in the wheelchairs, are lower to the ground and maybe out of the line of sight of maybe a bigger vehicle. Doesn't mean they're not there. We want to make sure that everybody pays attention, that they are there, and just watch out for people with disabilities as a part of this whole campaign. So I want to thank everybody that was involved here. What I want to do is turn it over to Mark here right at the moment.
Hi, I'm Mark Hughes. I'm one of the co-chairs for the Mayor's Committee for People with Disabilities in St. Paul. I want to thank everybody for coming. It was interesting. There were two thoughts when the day we shot this commercial. Number one is we couldn't decide who wanted to go first. It was like being back at Shriners Hospital. We could never decide that there either. When I did go first, there was actually a driver that came through the crosswalk and stopped halfway, which there really is a driver's ticket for that when that happens. So those things, because you look both ways when you cross the street, doesn't mean you'll be successful. So it's a collaborative effort on the driver and the person crossing the street. And as you'll see in the video, some of our people on our committee have been hit twice by cars, and it's because the drivers don't see them or we don't see the traffic coming forward. So I'm glad that we got a chance to produce this and get the message out. It's been my honor to be co-chair of the Mayor's Committee in St. Paul. I'm going to continue. And we're going to, as a matter of fact, on Tuesday, we're meeting on next year's project. So this one we think will do well. It comes with a television PSA version and a radio version. So I want to thank everybody involved. Thank the mayor for being here. Thank you all for being here today. And we'll see you soon.